This is a Ford Crown Victoria, and this is also a Ford Crown Victoria. My name is Wade the Trucker, and for the past year, my YouTube channel has been about one car, the Ford Crown Victoria. Why the Crown Victoria? Because it's my autism and I get to choose the special interest. But seriously, I've been interested in them ever since my father bought one as my first car, and since then, I've bought two more. And with my 4 years combined of driving these beasts, I could gladly say that these are the best car on the road. But why? In today's video, I'll give you 3 reasons as to why the Ford Crown Victoria is the best car on the road. I'm going to start with the biggest gimme, the one thing the Crown Victoria is known best for, reliability. The Crown Victoria is the literal embodiment of the phrase, they don't make them like they used to. They are known to last thousands of miles, and some have also been known to get upwards to 1 million miles. But let's not get too far ahead from ourselves. Let's start with the one thing that makes the Ford Crown Victoria so reliable. In the heart of this car is the Ford 2-valve 4.6-liter V8, Ford's go-to V8 engine that lasted from the 1990s when it was first created and put into a Lincoln Town Car, all the way up till it was discontinued in 2014, where the last model was placed into a Ford Econoline van. You heard me right, an Econoline van. Ford put these in almost everything that they could get them to fit. Mustangs, Crown Victorias, all the rest of the Panther bodies. They put them in Explorers, they put them in vans, and also, surprisingly, the Koenigsegg CCR. What helped this engine be so reliable, in my opinion, was the low red line for an overhead cam engine. So with it having less horsepower for displacement compared to its competitors, and having a somewhat relatively low red line compared to other overhead cam designs, that means that it had less stress in the internal components, although it isn't very rare for people to turn these engines up. The factory red line on these cars is 5,700 RPM. With a tune, I turned this car up to 6,000. I have several friends who turned theirs up to 6,500. On my black car, I've gotten it up to 7,000. And there's a video that I will probably show you right now with a guy who got their car to do 8,000 RPMs. So they could certainly do high RPMs, but because they have this factory low RPM rating, it just makes them so much less likely to send a piston to Mars. The Crown Victoria had several power ratings throughout its generations, depending on year and packet. You could find them as low as 190 horsepower on the first generation Crown Victorias, all the way up to 250 horsepower on the late gen Police Interceptors. And torque is the same story, with a low end of 260 foot-pounds from my research to 279 on the late gens. The common issues for these engines always seems to be the plastic intake manifold. Why Ford chose to do a plastic intake manifold is beyond me, but they're normally used to lasting around 125,000, 150,000 miles before they eventually give up. And up until recently, it's been hard to find Ford replacement parts, but Ford just came out with a new performance, in quotes, intake that is just shy of $400, but it's brand new and it has brand new tooling and whatnot. But really, any monkey can replace an intake manifold in around an hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on skill level. A second issue with reliability on these Crown Victorias also tends to be the Ford 4R70W and 4R75W transmissions that Ford put in these. Like the one in Project Oreo here, they're used to losing first gear, reverse gear, or they'll lose overdrive. But from my experience, that tends to be a maintenance issue, especially on these Police Interceptors. When the transmission was being placed in the chassis during the assembly period, Ford would install the dipsticks. And because they wanted to keep dust and debris out of the transmissions while they were in storage before they go into the cars, Ford put a little yellow plug inside the transmission plug to stop anything from getting inside of the transmission pan. So when these cars go for their first transmission service and whoever is working on them drops the pan, they'll find that yellow plug sitting in the pan. Doesn't do anything bad, but it shows you that nobody's ever been in that transmission yet before. When I got the transmission service in my 2010 Police Interceptor, they found the little yellow plug sitting inside the transmission pan. Keep in mind, this car had 100,000 miles, which, to put into perspective, these cars are supposed to get their transmission serviced every 30,000 miles. And I wouldn't be surprised if the same story is what killed the transmission here in Project Oreo, with 8,000 idle hours and 107,000 miles. But as long as you keep up on maintenance with these transmissions and with these cars in general, these will last forever.
But before we start our next topic, let's talk about today's sponsor. The sponsor of today's video is Built to Offend. Built to Offend is an online shop that deals in personal and vehicle accessories. They sell license plate frames, stickers, apparel, and so much more. This is a cool sticker. I wonder what it says. Just the other day, I was listening to music while sitting in traffic when an old guy came up to me and started yelling at me because my music was too damn loud. He said, "It sounds like crap. How can you listen to that sort of stuff?" So out of spite, I just turned it up more. I've decided that any money that I make off of this sponsorship will go directly into upgrading the sound system in my car. You can watch the video up here when it comes out. But in the meantime, use the code WTT or use the link in the description to pick up some cool accessories. Now let's get back to the video.
For this next topic, I'd like to focus on the civilian model Crown Victoria, like the one I'm showing you right now, my 2002 LX Sport. Just the other day, I let one of my friends drive this car for the first time. He said, "There's something weird about it. Driving down the road, I don't feel any of the bumps or dips at all, and yet it feels strangely planted." Then he added, "Still doesn't handle anything like my WRX, but that's besides the point." Starting with the base model Crown Victorias, you're treated with a front bench seat, a comfy back seat, and a soft set of springs. However, with these top trim leveled Crown Victoria Sports, you'd get a center console, even nicer back seats full with trash, and although you can't see it, they'd also get airbag suspension. Just this year, I have put almost 12,000 miles on this car, driving it on long road trips. I've driven out from up here in southern New Hampshire, all the way out to Michigan, to Derek McCottrell's Panther Magazine meet. Now, we had 80 cars show up. That was amazing. I also drove it back, and then about 2 months later, I drove it all the way out to New York for Mr. Random's Panther Fest. That was amazing. Blew the coolant line off of this during an exhaust competition. But that's besides the point. I've put literal thousands of miles on this car, and just the suspension, the seats, and the handling of this car just make it the best car that I've ever driven long distances. You might be thinking, "Wade, yeah, it's nice, it's comfortable, it's big, but it can't be too efficient." And to that I say, when we were driving back from Michigan, myself and Rob the Hoonmerk, I was getting 25 miles to the gallon on the highway. To the normal person, you might be saying, "Wait, that sounds made up," but there have been several instances where cars like Grand Marquis and Lincoln Town cars have gotten up to 30 miles to the gallon. And if you like driving something big, boaty, actually efficient, then a civilian model might be in your wheelhouse. However, a police interceptor might be in your wheelhouse if you are a fan of this next subject. The platform that the Crown Victoria is built on, also known as the Panther platform, has been around for a very long time, meaning that with its age and its popularity, it has a very large aftermarket support. Parts for these cars are very cheap and easy to come by, especially since Ford used a lot of parts interchangeably with other models. However, if you want performance, there is a website called adtr.net where you could get almost anything you want to make a dedicated anything out of your Ford Crown Victoria. Do you want a dedicated drag build? Boom, supercharger kit. Do you want to build a handling monster that could tackle the tail of the dragons like the famous Hoonmerk? Vine Boom. You could get complete coilovers, big brake kits, sway bars, everything you need to make your car handle perfectly. Do you want to make a dedicated drift build? Vine Boom. There you go. Right there is a drift caliper kit. And you can't forget about the literal decades of knowledge on the crownvic.net forum. You go on there, you can find almost anything you need to build your car in any way that you'd like. And there wouldn't be this much aftermarket support for Crown Victorias and Panther bodies if it wasn't for the communities that have been built around them. If it weren't for so many content creators like Mr. Random Reviews, BST Ford Channel, Crown Rick Auto, I wouldn't be where I am today. Broke. Yeah, but that's besides the point. Because of the Crown Victoria and the community built around it, I've done a lot of things, even just in the past year, that I never thought I would have done. For the first time, I drove outside of New England. That's something I never thought I'd have the ability to do. I've replaced the transmission in Project Oreo. I've replaced the engine in my 2002 Sport. I've embarrassed myself during exhaust competitions. But most of all, I have met a lot of people that I hold close and dear to my heart. People who I can really call my friends. People who have stuck by me and helped me do a lot of things. And I hope someday I'll be able to get to meet as many of you guys as I can. But as it stands, that is the end of today's video. If you like the Panther platform, you'll probably like one of these two videos up here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The 4-valve 2.6 in these cars the Panther platform. The Crown Victoria's Something smells like cum.